here we go. Hello and welcome to Wordcraft and Wildcraft. This is our 10th birthday party. Thank you so much for being here. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Come on. Oh, my name is Jorah LaFleur. I am our Writers in the Schools coordinator. I mostly coordinate myself as a teaching artist. I am a performance poet, and I also end up doing a lot of our graphic design and other things. We are a tiny but mighty team here at Wordcrafters, and it's a really exciting opportunity for us to share with you tonight all the things we do with like a tiny, it's like that platter over there, like there's going to be like a tiny taster of all the things we do, because we really do more things than it's ever reasonable to try to explain to any person who asks me where I work. So, the program tonight will take us on a little bit of a journey through our Writers in the Schools programs, our youth programs, talk about our adult programs, and I will draw your attention now to this incredible storyline in the back. So our Joe is going to tell you more about that later, so I'll leave it to them. But we have an opportunity for support happening here tonight in a really creative way. And before I go any further, I also want to say thank you to Wildcraft Ciderworks for having us here tonight as our community partner and venue. And they are also our rad neighbors. So our studio, where our in-person classes have once again begun to happen, and other community opportunities, we're like 2 blocks away over just, what's our address again?
436 Charlton Street.
There we go, 436 Charlton Street. Fantastic. I'm not a numbers guy. So that's over there. We are blocks away from our studio, and we are Wordcrafters, and this is Wildcraft. And I really do appreciate them holding space for us here tonight. They are a community committed business such that they almost function to me like a nonprofit. They're our buddies. So, it's my great pleasure to begin the evening by introducing you to our executive director. We are 10 years old tonight. I have been with the organization for 5 years, and the only person on our team who has been here the whole time, guiding and steering and making this organization exist, much as a writer brings new worlds into being, is Geraldine Evans, our fearless, amazing executive director. So please welcome her to the stage.
Jorah's a little taller than I didn't realize.
Can I help you? Okay. Such that it leads in.
I could make out with that.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take this down a notch, right into that awkward, introverted part of the writer life. I based my entire college career on whether I had to give a speech or not, and so somehow I find myself up here with absolutely no skills to do this. Also, in good writerly fashion, I wrote this like 10 minutes ago on the car. No, I'm just kidding. I did take notes, but I super awkward for accident. Okay, so once upon a time, 10 years ago, we, 2 amazing folks got together, and unfortunately Liz had to leave already, but Elizabeth Engstrom and Juanita Metzler got together and said, hey, we need a conference in Eugene. We have Willamette Writers, we have Wordos, a couple other orgs, but there's no writers conference, or at least one hasn't happened in a while. So they got together to have our first conference, which is all we were going to be. So assisted by Patricia Henley and another group of amazing writers, they started the Wordcrafters conference focused on craft, and that's going to be important in a minute. So along with the requisite workshops, the craft lab, a few kind of cool writers like Elizabeth George, Susan Wiggs, Terry Brooks, Eric Witchy, we kind of kicked off this amazing group. And what was wonderful about it was really based on craft, community, and inspiration in that first conference. And because it was so warm and special, folks wanted more. Immediately said, hey, what else is happening at Wordcrafters? So being the creative folks that we are, we came up with a giant hydra worth of things to do because we can't help ourselves. Over the years, we have done programming such as for youth, we have summer camps, ongoing workshops, writers in residence at area schools, which I'm going to let Jorah tell you a little bit more about, an LGBTQIA+ teen book club at the library, and other amazing things. And what's cool is that year 10, we've watched some of these kids who came to our very first writers conference, and there was a contest part of that for youth, and also excuse me, our first summer camp was 9 years ago, and I think one of those folks might be here tonight who was in that, has now gone off to college, so we've got to watch these writers grow up. For adults, we have things like story weekend writing retreats, a huge variety of classes and workshops, including our mastery level writing course that's a year long with our amazing Eric Witchy called Fiction Fluency. We have mixers for the introverted writers in the room, some of which are just come and read your book. And be with your people. Open mics like tonight, a community storytelling project, a feast of other assorted writerly shenanigans, and all of which have chocolate somewhere in the menu. I think most of us who are writers or readers all have kind of favorite books, and we craved story when we were young, and we kind of survived on story. They've long been the refuge and the strength, our source of strength for us, that we found in our favorite characters and our adventures, or their adventures, to help us endure the many challenges of life and growing up. The last couple of years were kind of challenging for everybody. For the whole world, we had a pandemic, we had the social justice movement, we had murder hornets, and this showed us all the importance of arts, and particularly story. How many of you read your favorite comfort story or series during the pandemic? Maybe more than once. How many of us read the 14-book series of 3 times in a row? So this community that we've built at Wordcrafters is not just important to us as writers, it's necessary and vital to sustaining hope and helping all of us understand ourselves and the world we live in. And that has never been more, we now understand just how important that is to sustain hope for everyone. I want to say thank you before I get to the next part to the amazing small but mighty crew, Jorah, Joe, Bartlett, downstairs at the front table was Audrey when you came in, and then Drea and Leah aren't here tonight. Our board member Christina Lay, who's been with us for several years, and our amazing grant writer who truly is the wind beneath our wings. I tell her that, and I don't know if she really believes it, but she makes us go and makes all of this possible, the things that we do. So Linda Reimers, are you? Linda, thank you for making us go. And just kind of an idea of where we're going over the next 10 years and beyond, hopefully. We're looking at finding sustainability for Wordcrafters, expanding access to our programs through things like pay from the heart pricing and scholarships, deepening our relationships with our community partners, thank you Wildcraft, and donors, and increasing the diversity of our instructors and the breadth of our literary sources and thinkers. Thank you all for sharing this amazing story, helping us write it over the last 10 years. Our strength is our community of writers, sharing your inspiration and craft, and fueling all of that with chocolate. Thanks.
Okay, now that Daryl Lynn is done talking, I'm going to tell you a few more things about Daryl Lynn. Daryl Lynn fosters a culture of generosity and camaraderie, and somehow manages to be available for all the details one would need, but never micromanage you. Daryl Lynn is one of the most amazing bosses / coworkers / friends that I've ever experienced, and I'm incredibly grateful for what she has created and held down. This, many nonprofits. They exist ultimately, they cannot exist without a team, but they ultimately exist on the shoulders of one person who was willing to start it and stay and stay and stay, and that person is Daryl Lynn. So thank you very much. Daryl Lynn Evans, my favorite wordy, nerdy boss I've ever had. I'm going to just give you a brief synopsis about our Writers in the Schools program, which is the thing I supposedly coordinate. Writers in the Schools has given me the opportunity to be this interesting combination of things which is known as a teaching artist. So we have several teachers in the room tonight that I'd like to shout out to that I've gotten to work with. Back there we have Trish and Lake from Cereboo MLK / the Phoenix program, who are incredible people who hold it down every day. And we've got an amazing teacher from Elmira that I'm going to introduce to you shortly. But the deal is, these classroom teachers let me come in and take over their room and just go for it. So what that means for me is that I come in half performer, half instructor, and we play with poetry. Sidebar, there's a community poem over here, and if you haven't contributed to it yet, please do so. All you have to do is add a line, and I'm going to read it to you later, and no one will know it was your line, so just please do it. So we, through our grant funding that Linda so amazingly, because I could never do it, helps us to get, we have had a partnership with Cereboo for a very long time. So this is like, I don't know, it's the label that happens a lot of the time here is we talk about at-risk youth. And I never want to feel like we're pigeonholing anything or talking about what is happening there as though it is some kind of an act of saviorship. It is not. What is happening is that I'm getting an opportunity to go in and make a small creative contribution. And I've had a lot of thoughts about this, and I think it is neither grand nor is it unimportant. It is something far more hopefully sustaining in the same way that you put another drop in someone's bucket, right? And if you are a creative kid that loves language or loves writing or just needs a tool for self-expression, it might be a really important drop. And I never know who is going to be affected how. But I know that it matters that we are given opportunities to directly express ourselves in a way that we might not otherwise be encouraged to do so within the realm of our normal school day. And so to get to participate in that at the schools that we do, at the Phoenix program, Cereboo MLK, at Elmira High School, and I want to give a big shout out to the two teachers who aren't here, who we work with at Calapooya High School, which is an alternative high school in the Bethel School District. They're all amazing, and it's really, I think, at the heart in a lot of ways of what Wordcrafters does is to share knowledge with the next generation. So we are a nonprofit that works with, middle grades all the way up until end of life folks. I don't know, no limits, right? Basically, of like you're at the age where you can start writing and telling stories towards whenever your story is done. We want to work with you, but getting to work with those folks who are young and at the beginning of their journey at this part of their lives is, it's a huge privilege, and I could not ever express enough how much I appreciate the support that makes that possible. So that was a real rambly way to say I'm really grateful to spearhead our WITS program, and I now get to welcome to the stage a teacher that I have gotten to work with now for 4 years at Elmira. His name is Shannon Hart, and in Shannon's classes, I've had the extra exciting opportunity to work inside of a poetry class. So we've done a few different things together. I've visited his English 101 classes, but also he teaches a poetry class to seniors. So in that case, I'm working with kids that are already getting all this amazing structure and knowledge around poetry composition, which I could honestly never provide them, but I get to come in and encourage them to share and encourage them to read their work aloud and to provide a space for severe acts of vulnerability. So I'm really grateful for how much Shannon has trusted me, and I want to welcome Mr. Hart to the stage to tell a little bit about his experience.
Hello. I prepared something because I don't trust my memory. Good evening, my name's Shannon Hart. I'm an English teacher at Elmira High School, which is west of Eugene, heading out to the coast. We're mostly a rural community. Poetry, which is one of the things that I teach, not in the top 100 ways of communication for the kids out there in Elmira. So my job mostly is to introduce them to poetry, encourage them to write some things, and to share those things. I've been in Elmira for 27 years now, and probably the last 18 or so I've spent teaching poetry. Was not my first love, but it's something I've grown to love over time, and I really do enjoy teaching it. I first got together with Jorah, as she said, in 2019 through the WITS program, which I'm still not sure how our little school got into this exactly, but she came at a time where, because I've been teaching it for a long time and I've been thinking about this, that my teaching of poetry was, like myself, getting old and stale. And so I was looking at something that could maybe spark it, and here comes, Wordcrafters and the WITS program. So I'm not a person who's extremely comfortable with other people taking over my classroom, because it's something I work really hard to foster and create. But there couldn't be a better person to share it with than Jorah. She is quite amazing working with my students. So I gave it a try, and I thought it was amazing what she did. It was like magic. I can teach the kids to do things, but to get them to do what they did for her, I don't know how to do that. She got them not just to share poetry, but to perform. And I am not that kind of a person, and I was stunned. I'm always stunned to see who does step up and do that in my classes. And so, this opportunity that they get is so important, I think, as an outlet for their creativity. I'm always amazed at who the creative kids are, because they're the quiet ones, obviously, a lot of the times. We get our hams too, and we had a few this year. We had a few hams, for sure. But it's the other kids who just have never shared anything before, been writing their entire lives. Those are the ones that it's always really special to see that. So I'm really grateful for this program. For me personally, it's always the highlight of the year. Like I said, I'm always amazed at what they end up doing in front of the class, or like one year in front of about 100 people standing on a stage in the theater. They didn't know they were going to be in front of 100 people, but that's what happened. And they just knocked it out of the park, and I was just so amazed. It's still in 27 years, one of my favorite moments as a teacher, is to see them doing that with just 1 week with Jorah. It's pretty amazing. So I wanted to end with a couple of things that some of the kids said. I asked them today to write a few things down. These are the ones I could share with you. They were all fairly similar to this. One student said, having Jorah in the class was eye-opening. I discovered a beautiful new world of writing. Another student said that the passion Jorah had for poetry, art, and just life in general was evident in the way that she taught. Another student said, I learned how to be confident in my writing and speak courageously in front of my peers. And one last student said, I think having Jorah in our class was okay. But they used an exclamation point, so I think that was a good thing. Again, I just want to thank Jorah and Wordcrafters in the WITS program for really injecting, for me personally, and into my poetry class, a new energy and a new purpose for doing what I do, and then showing my students that they can achieve anything, including standing in front of their peers and opening themselves up to whatever is out there. So thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to be here to share that with you tonight. So thank you.
Oh gosh. Shannon, thank you so much. It's an incredible act of trust, and I can feel it every time a teacher lets me take over their room. It's a moment. I want to share a couple of direct pieces of writing from our WITS program. So when I'm with Shannon's students out at Elmira, our culminating event is that we read to each other. But in most of the residencies I do, our culminating project is a chapbook. Y'all familiar with the chapbook? Yeah, it's kind of a poetry throwback. So, a chapbook, hold on, I'm going to give you a little show and tell here. So, a chapbook is a collection of poems, and now that we can actually self-publish really easily, I think more and more people are creating actual books. But for many, many years, it was this was, the poet's sort of calling card product. Buy this at the end of my show. If you're a musician, you have a CD. If you're a poet, you have a chapbook. So I've created many, many student chapbooks over the last 5 years of doing residencies, and I wanted to share a couple of them with you and a couple pieces from them. So just the titles are great. We use a democratic process to come up with the titles. We brainstorm a whole bunch of ideas, and then we arrive at one through a system of star voting, trying to implement a democracy that does not yet actually exist. So I'm going to start by, this one is one of my favorites. So we ended up with the title Word Circus, but I will give you the list that we started from, which is in and of itself kind of a fun poem of possibilities. So here were the other possibilities. Okay, this book could have been called Hungry Sweatshirt. It could have been called Pits at Their Zenith. Now this was a group who had decided to call themselves the Pits, which stood for Poets in Training. They were pretty into it. So Pits at Their Zenith. It could have been called Paper Trees, Obese Technology, Courageous Boom, American Fingers, Paper Circus, Drastic Pencil, Truth Markers, Crashing Truths, Mass Extinction, they know what's happening, Rhyming Honey, Courageous Calamity, Nascent Truths, Nuclear Waters, Tangerine Atoms, or Paper Purgatory. But we ended up at Word Circus. So each one of these books represents a similar process where we did a bunch of brainstorming together. So this is Word Circus. This is Dense Thoughts. This is Project Void. This is a collection of I Am From poems where I didn't give them a choice because they're all I Am From poems. This is Ink Graveyard. Looking forward to looking back. The Quiet One. The luxury of pen and paper. Words from the Broken. So, I'm going to give you just a couple quick selections here from some of these. So this one, I wanted to make sure we represent Calapooya High School, where we have done many residencies over the last 5 years. And something that I end up doing a lot, any of the teachers who have worked with me, I often try to find quick ways in to talk about our feelings and to use a lot of specific detail. So I think in writing we have a tendency towards being kind of vague and skirting the issue. Okay, sorry guys, there's a lot going on here. It was really hard to pick what to read to y'all. So, okay, basic poetry building blocks. We've got metaphor. We've got simile. I want to know who you are and I want to know how you feel. So we often write I am poems and we often write poems about our feelings. So here's an example of an I am poem which has been repeated infinite times through these residencies. This person decided to title their poem, I am green. I am green, the two ugliest colors made into something beautiful. I am the hour after rain on a Thursday afternoon, followed by a rainbow. I am the shiny new trumpet waiting to be rusted. I am the new shoes you got and can't wait to try not to ruin. I am green. I am an old computer that infuriates you because it won't work, but it has its moments, so you keep it. I am olives, a very arguable food. I am a fly trap waiting for my next strike. I am green. I am 9 p.m. on a Sunday, the most dreaded time, knowing school starts the next morning. I am a lion with a soft look and a fierce heart. I am a star full of sharp ends. I am everything bad turned into good. I am green. Shout out to Addie at California High School. Okay. Couple of quick, let's get into some feelings. One of the feelings that comes up the most often is anxiety. So I'll start an exercise asking the students to choose a feeling to write about, and then I will walk it through the 5 senses, and very often, especially these days, anxiety emerges. This poem is called Ocean of Anxiety. My anxiety is like a loud, crowded room with no doors or windows to escape, with a movie of every bad memory and moment of my life playing on repeat, salty tears staining my cheeks, feeling as if I am drowning in the ocean. The waves won't let me get a breath of air. My anxiety sounds like never being able to hear over my own thoughts. Looks like shaking legs and quiet talk. My anxiety tastes metallic, like blood from biting my tongue. Feels like never getting a break from my past. And smells like everything hitting my senses at once. Anxiety. Shout out to Olivia at California High School. Okay, so to wrap it up, let's try to come, I don't know, how am I doing on time? I lose all concept of time in the poetry void. Okay, we're doing good. Okay, here's one more I am poem. If you've never, how many people in the room have ever written an I am poem? Yeah, there are my students and votes in the front. Nice. Okay, it's an interesting exercise. There's a lot of power in just saying, I am. So, quick question for your internal monologue. If you were an animal, what kind of animal would you be? Do you know? Do you know quickly? Yeah. Joe, what kind of animal would you be?
Otter.
Otter. Yeah. Nice. Someone else give me one.
Stag. Stag. Deer.
Oh, you're a stag. Yeah, you are. Hello, Eric. Who else has one? Cheetah? Octopus. Ooh, octopus is a good one. Okay, if you were a type of weather, what kind of weather would you be?
I'd be overcast. I'm English.
Overcast. An overcast gray. I love it. This is the kind of, I ask them, yeah, what kind of weather, what kind of color, what kind of shape, what time, what food, what would you be? It's a really fun, fast way to learn about ourselves and each other. So here's another I am poem. I am crimson red. I am a fully black cow that makes you do a second take, leaving you disquisitive. I'm not sure if that's a word, but a lot of times when they make up a really cool word, I'm like, absolutely, we're keeping that. Works for me. I am disquisitive. I am freezing cold rain on a blindingly sunny day. an electric guitar that is permanently out of tune, slightly. I am a triangle with 3 uneven sides. I am an old tool hoodie covered in paint splatters and holes with a constant stench of a life I no longer lead. I am a heated stripper pole supplying warmth and convenience for the sex workers in our country. Some modern youth. A garden full of variety, deprived of flowers or scintillating color. I am 2:42 on a summer morning, not yet exhausted, but full of the stress of tomorrow's activities. I am crimson red. These beautiful poets. These kids, they come out with stuff. Okay, let's end up with one more poem, and then I'm going to take us forward. So, one of the things that occurs on a pretty regular basis is that I get a student who passionately dislikes poetry. The word hate might come up, and it's always an interesting, I am never in the room to convince anybody to like poetry. So I have tried a variety of methods that ultimately pretty much culminate in me being like, cool, please be our resident hater. Having a resident hater in the room is a wonderful artistic position to be in. So this poem is called Poetry is Stupid. Poetry is stupid. It doesn't follow the archaic rules of English. It spits in the face of the queen. They're always like, oh, we are poets, so grandiose, so deep. Up to their necks in special. You can always spot one in a crowd with their, I just threw this outfit together outfit. That was like a direct thing about me. Just to be a mismatch of complementary colors, impossible to just throw together. Poets are lie-breathing drakes, always prancing on their hordes of words and clothes that look poet-like, exaggerating the truth just to be artistic. Yep. Shout out to Jessie in California High School. Love it. Okay. So if you want to read some more poems from our students, we've got a bunch of these chat books in the back. And yes, it is now my great pleasure to introduce a coworker who could not be here tonight. I will let them speak for themselves. But they, among many other things, are spearheading one of our newest projects. This is called Story Helix. Now, Story Helix is a community storytelling gathering project, which is not in any way just for writers, but really welcomes anyone with a story to tell, who is everyone, to participate in sharing. So I'm going to allow Leah Velez to beam in via technology and tell you about this program.
Slight change of plans. We're going to get actual, technical support. Somebody who knows to do something other than just like twiddle the knobs until something happens. It usually works for me. Keep pressing buttons on, keep clicking on the computer, keep pressing buttons, you'll eventually get there. My name is Jo Bartlett, pronouns are they, them. I am the giving and connections catalyst at Wordcrafters because they let me name my own position. And that's what happens when you let a writer name things. I help people find us, and I help people understand the importance of the donations and the support that they make to Wordcrafters. So I'm going to explain to you a little about the storyline that somehow Daryl and I came up with when we were talking about this event. So we all have stories to tell, as we know. We all have a story inside us. So the storyline is there are a number of book titles. Each book title, as you might have noticed, has a number in it. The idea is that number is the amount of your donation. So you can wander around, find a book title that speaks to you, and your wallet, perhaps your bank account, but that speaks to you. Really, it's about what speaks to your heart and what Wordcrafters means to you, and that can be the amount of your donation. You can, of course, choose any amount whatsoever that you fancy. It doesn't have to be 2001: Space Odyssey, but 1984 is fine as well.
Can you make up your own book?
You can make up your own number. Feel free to take these books down. There's books around on the table. They have information about Wordcrafters, about our upcoming programs that we have going on, where we've been, where we're going. They're yours to keep. It's your party favor. Of course, you get a book at a Wordcrafters party. And so that's how it works. We can take donations by cash, check, credit card, using a QR code. Or back at the donation table upstairs or downstairs. And we've talked a little about where some of our funding comes from, which is through grants, and that is true. The rest of our funding comes from Wordcrafters members, from our various programs that we have for adults and youth, and through donations from donors like you. You make all of these programs possible, from our Writers in the School story program, Story Helix, which you're going to hear about in just a moment, to our book clubs, to all of these things are possible because of the generosity of lovely, good-hearted fellow word nerds like all of us. Because next we're going to talk about, you get to hear from one of the winners of our Fiction Fantastic contest. It is an annual youth short story contest open to all students in grades K through 12. It is with no submission free. You just get prizes. This is our 10th year. This year we actually have our award ceremony is coming up next week on June 9th at the library. So to date, we have, Wordcrafters has published 141 stories by young area authors that have been published each year in the annual Fiction Fantastic anthology, which is professionally edited and published and available online where books are sold, and everywhere books are sold. We'll have another 17 stories debuting in this year's anthology, Enter the Imaginarium. Over the course of the last 10 years, our volunteer judges have read and scored more than 1,000 story submissions, which average about 130 each year. This last year, more than 140 students in grades K through 12 entered the contest, and in total they submitted more than 200,000 words, which is a lot of words to read. They're having a conference over there, a whispered discussion. But right now, we are going to bring up Sandra Moffitt, who is the only student to have ever been a first place winner in 2017, 2018, 2019, 3 years in a row, which is pretty amazing in the high school division. And she is now studying English as just one of her majors at Brown University. So writing is still very much part of her life.
I'm not very tall. Can y'all hear me? Yeah? Awesome. Hi. All right. I'm happy to be the tech support entertainment. Hi, I'm Sandra. I won several of the Wordcrafters Fiction Fantastic Young Writers contests a few years ago. And like they said, I'm currently studying at Brown University with my majors being biology and English. Until Daryl Lynn mentioned it, I had completely forgotten. I think I went to the first Wordcrafters camp ever. Is it a park somewhere? I remember it being awesome and pirate themed. Vaguely, yeah, that was great. Thank you for bringing that memory back up. I first entered the Fiction Fantastic contest as a 7th grader with a mystery short story about a burns down pet store. I won 3rd place. It was the first time I'd ever been recognized for my creative writing, and it felt like the best day of my life. Since then, I have written nearly 1 million words across drafts of many short stories and 2 novels, one of which I queried with literary agents. Participating in Wordcrafters workshops and contests gave me the confidence in my writing to feel as though I could actually make it a part of my career. My other main passion in life is biology, and I plan on uniting these interests to work in creative science communication. I want to help others get as excited as I am about rare plant camp conservation or ctenophore jellyfish that have marbles for brains. Today I'm going to read a short excerpt from my entry that won in 2019, which was a fantasy heist story entitled Payment. She ran the comb through her beard one last time, making sure every hair was in place. Any little thing could tip off the border control, and then she'd be caught. Well, there was a bounty out for Gen Saren. The officers wouldn't bat an eye and knocked down the Monty farmer. Gen settled a broad-brimmed hat low on her brow and tucked the handgear back into the folds of her robe. The exterior city was too quiet for her liking. She craved the constant noise and bustling streets of the capital. The outer country made her feel too easily watched, too trapped in the confines of her human skin. The wagon bucked around her, its wares bobbing with the rough cobbled streets. An intricately carved timepiece fell into her lap. She inspected it with a smuggler's eye. Wrought from the living wood of the desert lands and no doubt etched by one of their famed craftsmen, it was probably worth significantly more than she was. The criminal in her chest pulled, urging her to slip it away into a pocket, but she bit her cheek and returned it to its wrappings. She had a job to do. Stone spires came into view as the trade caravan neared the capital. The driver jabbered on in a language Gen barely knew, occasionally looking back to verify that she was still there to pay him at the end of the journey. She had a job. She smirked. Gen strapped her coat and slid from the car just before it pulled up at the border. As he noticed her skipping out on him, the driver jumped out and started toward her, shouting a few of the words she did know. A smile slipped onto her face as she started to run, the air coming alive around her. Gen felt most like herself in a chase.
Hello, I'm Leah Velez. I'm really sorry I can't be there partying with you tonight, but have some extra chocolate for me, please. I am the head of Wordcrafters, adult and community programs, and one of the programs that I work on is called Story Helix, which is a collection of stories about our community that we create together. For too long, so many stories in our community have been erased, or been excluded, or simply not been heard. Story Helix hopes to honor our community's DNA, and through juxtaposing all of our stories, we can weave a new narrative together. I'm so honored to introduce one of the stories from the podcast this past year. This story arose out of one of the residencies we did in our WITS program, where I went to a local high school and talked to them about the project and then also about interviewing. Students then chose someone in their community, whether it was a family member, a friend, someone at their school, to interview on the subject of belonging. In this one we're about to hear, the student interviewed their younger sibling, who tells what it felt like to be told they were too small to ride at the Lane County Fair. This story for me really hits at what it feels like to be excluded in such a poetic and clear way, and it inspired me to consider the ways in which we can look at the benches around us or the sidelines around us to consider who's being left out and who's not being included, so that we can reach out and extend invitation. Please give it up for a cold black bench, as told to the speaker's older sister.
I believe if my town, Eugene, Oregon, could piece of clothing, I think it would be a scarf. So many people love to accessorize them in many different ways. Others think they're completely useless. If my town was a musical instrument, I believe it would be a penny whistle, small and good. But Eugene, Oregon is also small and good. Eugene, Oregon does feel like home. I love it so much with my entire heart. When I'm here, I just feel spontaneous. It's glorious. My favorite place is my friend's house. When I'm there, I feel stress-free. I feel like it's a fun place to be, and I feel safe. I may be allowed to go to my favorite place on the weekend because every time I'm there, I usually have to spend the night. My strongest memory that occurred in Lane County, Oregon, would be when I went to the Lane County Fair with my two sisters and my sister's mom. We went there and they saw this big attraction, and it looked like scissors, the Cosmoconcy. And then we went there, but then I was too short, so the right person said, you can't get on. So then I was on the bench, sitting on the cold bench, on the cold black bench. Well, they went on to the right. I remember seeing kids with big cotton candy sticks and a whole bunch of popcorn and elephant ears and good things. And I heard a whole bunch of kids screaming and having a glorious time while I was sitting on the bench. And I smelled a whole bunch of popcorn, butter, candy, cinnamon, other stuff. drinks, and my sorrow. This memory means a whole lot to me now because instead of compromising, they want to do that. So maybe we should all think about compromising in the future. It was pretty sad that I haven't been there in a long time because the last time I went was like when I was 7, and I've been with my dad for the past like 3 summers. I hope I can go this year though.
If you've got your own Lane County story to tell, we'd love to hear it at storyhelix.wordcrafters.org.
Okay, we did it. We did a computer. Woo! Excellent. So to reiterate what Leah said, if you are interested in sharing your story with us, we are on our second round of story submissions. Our first mixtape was about the feeling of belonging, and this year we're working on the theme of rekindling. So you don't have to feel like a writer, you don't have to know how to tell that story. What we do is offer a series of interview questions. You can choose a buddy and walk through those questions together. So if you want information on that, it's on the back table. I'm going to spin back around to our amazing young reader, who is now an adult person, which is mind-blowing, Sandra Moffitt, winner of Fiction Fantastic, our Young Writers Short Story Contest. What I feel like Fiction Fantastic would have done for me as a young person who never did such a thing was to, but what I did do was get on stage. Here's what I'm trying to say. Whether it's about being published, about seeing your words in print in a real book, whether it's about getting on stage or having your voice recorded and shared out with the community, what I feel like we do in many extensions of the Wordcrafters program is try to say, we want to hear you. Your voice matters to us and to others. And there's a lot of different ways to get your voice out into the world. So thank you again for your donations that help make this possible. I want to move, we've been talking a lot about youth, and as we wrap up our presentation, I want to move more into talking about our adult programming. It's very, I think, easy to be enthusiastic about working with youth. I certainly am, that's what I do. But it's equally important that those of us who are in a different stage of life get to connect to our creativity. It's hard to meet people, right? Like as an adult, how do you meet a healthy, creative community? Where does that happen? How do you connect around your passion? And so many of us, it's like you get to a point in life through whatever means that you realize you have an untold story, or there was something creative you did want to do and were not encouraged to go after as a youth. You were not given that opportunity. So I also feel very passionate about what we do in terms of offering adult programming that does not require you to go back to the university, right? That's not going to work for everybody. So how can you find your people? How can you work on your writing? How can you experience inspiration? That is where our adult classes come in, and I'm really thrilled that we have with us to sort of represent that part of our programming, Melissa Hart. And Melissa Hart, I'm going to do a little bio reading. Melissa's fucking amazing. Excuse my language. Melissa is an Oregon author, journalist, and speaker devoted to sharing stories that entertain, educate, and inspire readers. She's a passionate teacher of writers at any age and stage in their writing journey, inspired to help help other people voice their stories. She's an author of multiple middle grade and young adult novels and adult memoirs, including Daisy Woodworm Changes the World, Avenging the Owl, Better with Books, Wild Within, and Gringa. So she is also one of our incredible Fiction Fantastic judges and keynote speakers from years back. She is a fantastic storyteller. Melissa, come up here and say stuff to us, right? How was that? Woo! Melissa Hart.
What did she say about me? Say it again. This is going to be on the back of my next book cover. Say it again. I don't know what I said. Melissa is a fucking awesome writer.
Hey! Oh,
lot in here, and we need to get to the cake, right? So, I've been teaching for Wordcrafters almost since its inception, working with writers as young as 8 and as old as 80. We talk about how to own your story, whether you are a queer kid of color or a retired grandfather wanting to tell your story to your grandkids, and maybe Penguin Random House. So, we talk about characterization and dialogue and narrative arc and how we use the semicolon. People, sometimes I feel like I've told half of Lane County how to use the semicolon. Really? I need to know. Okay, we'll have a little in-service after this on the semicolon. One of the things I adore most about teaching for Wordcrafters is the physical space, especially when the pandemic made us all retreat into our houses with Zoom and our pajama bottoms. I miss the warmth of the cozy couches and the packed bookshelves and the literary art on the walls and the snacks, people. That chocolate. Oh my goodness. The staff have created such a welcoming room for us to invite people to tell their stories, share them with each other in a safe space, and revise them to put them out into the world. So it's that safe space that Wordcrafters has managed to create, both virtually and in person, that I keep coming back to teach because of that space. It reminds me of the UCLA Young Writers Camp that I got to attend in the mountains of San Bernardino when I was 16 and 17. And Jorah, you were talking about formative experiences and how your teaching in the schools might be a drop in the bucket for a kid, but you don't know where that kid's gonna go after a WITS writer in the schools experience. I don't think anybody who was my teacher at UCLA Young Writers Retreat, I don't think any of them knew how important that experience was to me. And I just adore the work that Writers in the Schools is doing. I lost my place. I love how we work with kids 8 years old and up to own their stories. And I adore the fact that we're attracting writers who are retired and ready to devote the rest of their lives to telling fiction and nonfiction memoir stories. Writing is a serious business, but it's also playtime. It's time to play with language and try out new genres. I'm trying historical fiction. It's scaring the hell out of me. But that's good, because thanks to Wordcrafters, writers in our county have a place to work and to play, surrounded by a vibrant literary community and lots of chocolate. Thank you so much to Darylyn and everybody involved.
Thank you, Melissa. All right, folks. So here's my wrap. We've just touched on a few of the things that we do with a few of the people that we do them with. But we've got all kinds of information so we can keep being friends going forward. I also want to make sure you know that we have an amazing raffle basket downstairs. It's not officially a raffle. It is a door prize basket. All you need to do to potentially win it is fill out your name and email. You do not need to be present to win, and I don't want you to miss the opportunity. That is downstairs. You can also give us any amount of money down at that table. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that thrives on your generosity. So thank you very much to everyone who supports us. And thank you to everyone who came out tonight to participate in this birthday celebration. Thank you to Wildcraft Ciderworks for having us here, which is in itself a very generous donation. Now, we're gonna have an open mic reading, which is my favorite thing, and I'm very grateful that they allowed me to tack that onto this, because for me, there's nothing better and nothing that makes me feel more connected to this art form The writing for me, I just got real personal. Writing for me is always published on stage. I'm around a bunch of people who publish on the page. But whether it's like you end up here or you end up here, the opportunity to actually connect with each other in real time is becoming, I think, increasingly rare and precious, and I'm so excited that we get to do it. But first, we gotta eat cake! So here's what needs to happen to end this celebration. Can y'all join me in a big round of applause for everyone who's put their energy out here tonight? Thank you. And, okay, I'm not a great singer. Do we happen to have anyone who's like a really beautiful singer?
Are we gonna sing happy birthday?
We're gonna sing happy birthday. Is anyone like really good at it?
No one's good at happy birthday. Let's
Oh.
go for it.
Nisha, come up here. Come up here. Come on. Come on. Yes, everyone on Nisha. Come up. Let's have some happy birthday.
Okay, this is gonna be slightly better than off key.
Yes. Woo, we need to go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Wordcrafters. Happy birthday to you.
So we're gonna eat some cake, take a very short break, and come back with our open mic. I think there's still a few slots left. If you haven't signed up, please do so and get after that community poem.